Deuteronomy chapter 11. Therefore, love the Lord your God and observe all the injunctions with his statutes, norms, and commandments always. You with whom I am speaking, realize this today. Perhaps this is more difficult for your children who have not known the instruction of the Lord your God, or seen his greatness, his firm hand, and his outstretched arm. But you saw the signs and the deeds of prowess he performed in Egypt against Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and all his land, and what he did to the army of Egypt, to their horses and chariots, when he engulfed them in the waters of the Sea of Reeds, destroying them as they pursued you. And this is how it is till now. Remembrance of God's deeds. Remember too all that the Lord did for you in the desert until you came to this place, what he did to Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab from the tribe of Reuben. Had the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up, with all their families, their tents and all their followers, from the midst of all Israel. You have seen with your eyes all this great work that the Lord has done. Therefore observe the whole commandment that I enjoin on you, that you may have the strength to go and cross over it into the land to take possession of it, and you will live long in the land which the Lord promised on oath to give to your fathers and to their descendants, a land flowing with milk and honey. For the land you are to enter and take possession of is not unlike the land of Egypt which you left, where after having sown your seed, you have to water it like a vegetable garden with your feet on the water wheel. No, the land which you are crossing over to take possession of is a land of mountains and valleys, which absorbs the water from the rain that falls from the heavens. It is a land which the Lord your God takes care of. The eyes of the Lord your God are constantly fixed on it from the beginning of the year until its end. If you truly obey the commandments that I give you today, if you love the Lord your God and serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, he will give rain to your land in season, both the early rain in autumn and the late rain in spring. Then you may harvest your grain, wine, and oil. He will make sure that your field will yield grass for your cattle, so that you may have enough food and be satisfied. But be on your guard lest you be seduced into following other gods, serving them and prostrating yourselves before them. For then the anger of the Lord would blaze out against you. He will close up the heavens and it will cease to rain. The land will not yield its produce, and you will suddenly perish in that fertile land which the Lord is giving you. Engrave these words of mine in your heart and in your soul. Bind them on your arm as a sign, and keep them as a band on your forehead. Teach them to your children. Speak of them when you are at home and when you travel, when you lie down and when you rise. Engrave them on your doorpost and in your city gates. Then your days and the days of your children will be multiplied in the land which the Lord promised on oath to give to your fathers, and you will dwell in that land as long as the heavens are above the earth. For if you carefully observe the whole commandment that I enjoin on you and put it into practice, if you love the Lord your God and follow his ways, clinging to him, the Lord will dispossess all those nations before you, and you will inherit the land of nations, for greater and more powerful than yourselves. Every place where you set foot will be yours. Your territory will be from the desert up to Lebanon, and from the river Euphrates up to the western sea. No one will be able to stand against you. In all the land that you tread, the Lord will make the peoples fear and be terrified when they hear of you, as he himself has promised you. See, I have set before you today a blessing and a curse. A blessing if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God that I enjoin on you today. A curse if you disobey the commandments of the Lord your God, and turn aside from the way that I show you now, to follow strange gods which you have never known. When the Lord your God has brought you into the land you are entering to take possession of, you shall set a blessing on Mount Gerizim, and the curse on Mount Ebal. These mountains are on the other side of the Jordan, beyond the western road in the land of the Canaanites who dwell in the Arabah, opposite Gilgal, near the oak of Moreh. Now you are about to cross the Jordan to enter and take possession of the land which the Lord your God is giving you. You are about to inherit it and live in it, but be careful to put into practice all the statutes and the norms which I now set before you. Deuteronomy chapter 12. The law of one sanctuary. These are the precepts, the statutes, and the norms which you must be careful to put into practice all the days of your life in the land which the Lord, the God of your fathers, has given you. You must systematically destroy all the sanctuaries where the nations you are going to dispossess had worshipped their gods. Do this on the high mountains as well as on the hills and under every green tree. Demolish their altars, smash their sacred pillars, burn their sacred poles, and break into pieces the idols of their gods. Wipe out even the name of their gods from the land. Do not build similar sanctuaries for the Lord your God, for he himself will choose a place among all the tribes to put his name there and dwell in it. There you will go and visit the Lord. In that place you will present your holocaust and your sacrifices, your tithes and your contributions. There you will present your votive gifts and your voluntary offerings and the firstlings of your cattle and sheep. There you shall eat in the presence of the Lord your God and rejoice together with your families, enjoying everything you have reaped through the blessing of the Lord your God. You shall not behave there as we do here, for now everyone does what seems best for him, because we have not yet come to the place of rest, that is, the land which the Lord is giving you as your inheritance. When you cross the Jordan and settle in the land which the Lord will give you as your inheritance, when he has given you rest from all your enemies, then you will live in security. It is to this place chosen by the Lord as a dwelling place for his name that you shall bring everything I commanded, your holocaust and your sacrifices, your tithes and your contributions, and the choicest gifts you have vowed to the Lord. There you shall rejoice in the presence of the Lord your God, you, your sons, your daughters, your male and female slaves, as well as the Levites who live among you, since they have no portion or inheritance as you have. Be careful not to offer your holocaust in any sanctuary that you see. Only in the place chosen by the Lord in the land of one of your tribes are you to offer your holocaust, and only there shall you perform all that I command you. However, in any of your towns you may slaughter and eat meat to your heart's content of the animals the Lord has blessed you with. Both the clean and the unclean may eat of it, just as you would eat a gazelle or a deer. Only you must not consume the blood, but pour it out upon the earth like water. You may not eat in your towns the tithes of your grain, wine, and oil, or the firstling of your herd or your flock, or any of the things which you have offered to the Lord, either as your voluntary offerings or your contribution. These you are to eat before the Lord in the place the Lord has chosen, together with your sons and daughters, your male and female slaves, and the Levites who live in your towns, and you will feast before the Lord your God, enjoying the fruit of your labor. Be careful not to forget the Levites as long as you live. When the Lord has extended your boundaries as he promised, and you would like to eat meat, you may do so to your heart's content. If the place chosen by the Lord for his dwelling is too far, then you may slaughter any of your herd or your flock which the Lord has given you, in the manner that I have prescribed for you. You may eat it within your towns as much as you like, but you shall eat it just as the gazelle or the deer is eaten. All may equally eat of it, the clean and the unclean. Only take care not to consume the blood, because blood and life are one, and you must not eat the life with the flesh. Do not consume it, but pour it out as water is poured upon the ground. You may not consume it, so that you and your children after you may prosper for long, doing what is pleasing in the eyes of the Lord. You shall bring with you the things you have consecrated and those offered by vow to the Lord, and go to the place chosen by the Lord. There you will present your holocaust, the flesh as well as the blood, on the altar of the Lord your God. The blood of your sacrifices must be poured on the altar of the Lord your God, but the flesh you may eat. Be careful to observe and obey all the words that I enjoin on you, so that you and your children after you may prosper forever, for doing what is good and right in the eyes of the Lord. The Lord your God will destroy before you the nations whose land you are entering to take possession of. When you have disposed them and are dwelling in their land, be careful not to fall in the trap and follow their example. Do not inquire about their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? Let me too do the same. You shall not behave like them in relation to the Lord your God. In honoring their gods, they do all kinds of detestable things that the Lord hates. They even burn their sons and daughters as sacrifices to their gods. Psalm 76, Thanksgiving after victory. In Judah, God is acknowledged. In Israel, his name is great. Salem is indeed his tent. He has made Zion his dwelling place. Therefore he has broken the flashing arrows, the shield and sword, and the weapons of war. You are glorious and more majestic than the everlasting mountains. Valiant men lie despoiled, sleeping their last sleep, not one able to lift a hand. At your rebuke, O God of Jacob, both rider and horse lay prostrate. But you, how awesome you are! Who can oppose the fury of your onslaught? You thundered judgment from the heavens, the earth trembled and lay still, as you, O God, arose to judge, to save all the humble of the earth. Edom, for all its anger, will give you praise, and what is left in Hamath will surround you with worship. Make vows to the Lord your God and fulfill them. Let the peoples bring offerings to the awesome one, who breaks the spirit of rulers and instills terror in the kings of the earth. Mark chapter 15, verse 1 to 25. Jesus before Pilate. Early in the morning, the chief priests, the elders, and the teachers of the law, that is, the whole council or Sanhedrin, held a consultation. They had Jesus bound and led him away and handed him over to Pilate. Pilate asked him, are you king of the Jews? Jesus answered, you say so. As the chief priests accused Jesus of many things, Pilate asked him again, have you no answer at all? See how many charges they are bringing against you. But Jesus gave no further answers, so that Pilate wondered. At every Passover festival, Pilate used to release one prisoner the people asked for. Now there was a man called Barabbas jailed with the rioters who had committed murder in the uprising. When the crowd went up to ask Pilate the usual favor, he said to them, do you want me to set free the king of the Jews? For he realized that the chief priest had handed Jesus over to him out of envy. But the chief priest stirred up the crowd to ask him instead for the release of Barabbas. Pilate replied, and what shall I do with the man you call king of the Jews? The crowd shouted, crucify him. Pilate asked, what evil has he done? But they shouted the louder, crucify him. As Pilate wanted to please the people, he freed Barabbas for them. He had Jesus flogged and handed him over to be crucified. The soldiers took him inside the courtyard known as the Praetorium and called the rest of their companions. They dressed him up in purple cloak, and twisting a crown of thorns, they forced it onto his head. Then they began saluting him, long life to the King of the Jews. With a stick they struck him on the head and spat on him, and kneeling down before him pretended to worship him. When they had finished mocking him, they pulled off the purple cloak and put on his own clothes on him. The soldiers led him out of the city to crucify him. The crucifixion. On the way they met Simon of Cyrene, father of Alexander and Rufus, who was coming in from the country, and forced him to carry the cross of Jesus. When they had led him to the place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull, they offered him wine mixed with myrrh, but he would not take it. Then they nailed him onto the cross and divided his clothes among themselves, casting lots to decide what each should take. It was about the third hour when they crucified him.